Hello everyone and welcome to the Captain Platform channel. My name is Anastasia and today I would like to share with you my learning, testing and developing journey during the Hack Together event. For those who did not hear about this event, it was a global 2-week online AI hackathon organized by Microsoft and welcoming from beginners to professionals. This event offered a deep dive into the various AI capabilities of the Power Platform, such as building bots, apps, websites and flows using Copilot, leveraging the power of the AI Builder, as well as adding some Azure OpenAI to our solutions. By the way, many thanks to the organizers, presenters and co-presenters for making this event possible and so engaging. This event also offered a unique opportunity to work on a specific use case or idea and submit an entry to win some fantastic prizes. On my side, I also participated in this event and would like to share with you the different features that I tested, as well as the use case I worked on. Just to let you know, this video is not about selling you a perfect and ready-to-use solution. It's far from being perfect, given the time we had, but it can give you maybe some interesting ideas and can be a good basis for some future bigger projects. And now let me talk about the use case. Let's imagine an expanding company that, is hiring more and more people, getting new offices, so the company is growing and it's perfect for them. Till now, the small IT team was managing the different office equipment, such as keyboards, screens, and computers using an Excel file. A classic way of doing things that was working, but now as the company is getting bigger and bigger, this process is becoming difficult to manage. So they have a lot of manual work. Unfortunately, mistakes are often committed, and they are also having difficulties to keep track of different items in the company. Moreover, the small IT team is very often contacted by different employees for various technical questions, making their days really overcharged. And before going forward, take a look at this short overview of my final solution. So this is a very basic and universal use case, but that allowed me to implement some Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, explore a bit the AI Builder, and also add some OpenAI to my final solution. Cool, isn't it? And now let's switch to my computer for a more detailed overview of this solution. Before continuing, I wanted just to let you know that everything that I'm going to show you today was created in an US region Power Platform environment. So this was one of the prerequisites in order to be able to test, especially the Copilot features. So in case you are doing some tests on your side and you don't see the same as me, it may be because of that. And let's start with the Power Apps part. As you can see, when we are on the home page, you can already start building an app. So it's here, you can describe the app and the tool will try to build it for you. So if we take my use case, I need an app for office equipment management. So it's as easy as this. Just click on OK, and you will see that Copilot will try to understand what your use case is about and to propose columns to store the data for your app. So we don't immediately build the app. So the first step is to define a table, and the second step would be to create an app. So if we focus on this table creation, so we have our table with the different columns. So this is, a proposal. So in case you want to change something, for example, I want to add the date of purchase for my items. Date of purchase of the item. And a couple of seconds after, it should add a new column, so it takes a bit of time. But as you can see here, we have the date of purchase that was added. And in this way, you have some suggestions here on the left side. You can change the columns, you can add rows, remove rows, and so on. So in this way, you can, really adapt the first version, the first draft to your need. And then if we agree with, these different columns, we can create an app. So first we define the table, and then we let the magic happen, and we let Power Apps create the app for us. So here it is, our app. We also have the copilot here. So as you can see, if I just run this app, we already have, the list of items. We already have a form that will allow us to modify. For example, I can immediately modify the quantity of this item. And in this way, actually, you have, you can already use this app. Of course, you can do some, customizations. If, for example, it doesn't make sense maybe to have here the item ID, I want to have the item name. So I can also, modify the way, the information that is shown to the user. But as you can see, it took a couple of seconds or minutes, and we have a ready to use app. As you can also see, we have a copilot here inside our Power Apps app. It's kind of limited to a couple of instructions. So for example, I can add an email screen. So this can also help people that are new to Power Apps to better understand how things work in Power Apps. I tried a couple of instructions that, but I think at this moment, they are not all supported, but this is, a good start for this copilot part. So it's still in preview, and I think it will get better and better in time. So for example, I added a new email screen, and we already have the different inputs, and we can use this screen for our app. Next, I think you maybe already noticed, we also have a kind of a copilot icon when we select an item, a specific item. For example, if I take the quantity, let's say that if my quantity is 0, I want to color, this box in red. So this is something that we may sometimes need to do. And for example, if you're not sure, you're new to Power Apps, and you're not sure what, what function or definition do you need to use for conditional formatting, you can click on this icon, and actually you can explain what you want to do. So for example, I tried by writing, if the quantity is, but I think it doesn't understand things in this way. So I will use the technical name of my box, but let's try it this way: color in red if a value equals 0, otherwise color in white. So let's try it in this way. We'll see if that works. But I think I did a test and it was not working as expected. So yeah, I need to specify the color data card value 7 in red. A value is 0, otherwise color in white. Let's try it in this way. So in this way, you can see that, it's working better, because if 0 equals 0, indeed, that will always be true. So yeah, sometimes you need, to be more precise in what you want to do and to what item apply. But yeah, if this one, we want to test this one, so we just, and I'm not sure if it will color the background. I did not specify if it's the background or not. So let's just apply. So you don't have, of course, you can copy paste, but you can just, apply. And we will see here. So yeah, it's the color of the text that will be in red or in white. So of course, if it's in white, we won't see it. So let me just change it, because I was thinking more of the background. But yeah, let's do it in this way with the red and black. And if I run again my app, and if I modify here the quantity, you will see that it becomes red. So in this way, you can use Copilot to help you in, defining some conditional formatting for your items, your boxes, and your inputs. And the last thing that I wanted to show you in this app was to be able to add a Copilot directly in your app. So let me just add a new page. And this is something that I found really, really nice. So we can add a Copilot. So it's an item, a Copilot chat that will be added to your app. And what is good, so you can define its source. So for example, let's define the source on the table that we just created for items for equipment management. And you will see that actually it's a chat, it's a ready-to-use chat. And for example, let's say that I want to know how many items do we have. So I can just write how many items do we have. So we have 5 items. So in this way, you can ask questions to your app, to your data. What else we can ask? What is the last time we purchased an item? Let's write in this way. I don't know if that will work. So the last time we purchased an item was on July 7th. So in this way, as you can see, you can just put that in place and users can directly ask questions and have their answers based on the data. So this was, I think, the coolest thing that I saw during this test that I was doing during the hackathon. So there is another way of easily building an app is based on data. So for example, I was telling you that the company was using an Excel file in order to keep track of the different items. And actually we can use that file in order to build an app. And we tested the use everyday words, but we can start with data as well. And we can use our Excel file, so we can upload an Excel file. I will just find it. And I have equipment here, and the tool will try to, identify the different data types of our different columns. And in this way, if you already have an Excel file, you can use it, because otherwise you can, describe the app, but afterwards you have to add columns if they are missing or remove ones that you don't need. But if you already have something that you are using, why not use this way of creating apps? Once finished, as you can see, we have the different rows, the different columns. We have the different data types. So for example, date of purchase is of type date. The quantity is numeric. So in this way, it detected the different columns, the different rows, and we can create an app based on this. Once loaded, you can see that actually it's looking the same as the previous example that I was showing. So it's the same template app. It's just the data and the source that is different. But yeah, it takes a couple of minutes as well. If you already have an Excel file, just use it. And in this way, you can create an app very, very quickly. So now let me show you the final version of the app. It looks a lot like this app, or the 2 examples that I showed you before. I used the Excel file as a base, and I just uploaded it to the Power Apps and created an app based on that. So here is the final app. I just customized it a bit. So I added a menu page to have the different options. But if I select the item management, you'll see that, it's looking like the first, so the 2 examples that I showed before. I just added some other features, like, for example, if the person wants to order a new item of this name and this type, they can click on here on a button, on an icon, and this will bring them to the Microsoft Bing search. And this will allow, people to order new items, for example, by selecting the different websites that are shown. Also, we have, I was thinking of how facilitate the item, location in the company. So for example, if I have a new person to whom I want to assign an item, I can click on a small flag, and this will allow me to actually select where the person sits, where the person is located. In this way, if in the future I need to do a repair or a replacement, this will allow me to easily find, where the item is. So I'm just selecting this one, and the location is updated. And the last thing that I tried to implement in this app is a barcode scanner. What I wanted to do is facilitate mainly the inventory in the company. So the idea is, we have a QR code here, so a QR code that will be generated for each of the items. So we have to print this QR code and to put it on the different items that we have in the company. And in this way, when we have, for example, an inventory once a year or twice, it depends. So the person that will do this will have just to take their phone to scan the item. In this way, they will immediately have the information of this item. This can also be used, for example, when there is a need for repair or replacement. So they just need to scan the item and update, for example, the status to in repair or other statuses if needed. So in this way, we can, track the items in the company, easily find where they are, to whom they were assigned to, and also facilitate the inventory management. So this is for the Power Apps part. So what I wanted to do in Pod Automate is to try to automate the way this company manages new items that they buy. So imagine the company will order new items. They will for sure receive an invoice. Until now, the team was just, entering the different rows manually in an Excel file. So my idea was to try to put in place something that will improve and automate this overall process. So let me show you how it works. So actually, almost the only thing that the person has to do is to put the invoice in a SharePoint folder. So I will take an invoice that I prepared for that. Let me just show it to you. So here we have it. So I used a real invoice of my own. So I ordered this mouse a couple of months ago. And so I have, it's in French. We have the items. So I also checked the option for the CO2 compensation. And so we have the items, we have the total, the quantity, and so on. So it's, a classic invoice. So what we have to do is to upload this invoice in this SharePoint folder, and this action will trigger a lot of things in the background, and in the end the person that uploaded the file in the SharePoint folder will receive a Teams message. We just have to wait a few seconds for it to come. So, and here we have our new message from Pod Automate that provides us a link that we can use. So let's click on this link. And actually this will allow us to validate or not the data that, our process detected. So the idea is to show to user the documents or the invoice that was used to extract the information and the information that was extracted. So, so we have a not very good quality. So let's zoom a bit in. So as you can see, we have the exact same document. So I uploaded it on SharePoint, and we have a view here in the Power Apps app. And on the right side, we have the different, items that were detected. So I have my first Logitech marathon, and also the CO2 compensation that was also detected in my invoice. So the first one, so maybe I don't need that, long description. So for example, I can modify it and keep only the things that I need. And I can also check for the other points that were detected. And there is another interesting thing happening here, is that we have a category. If you take a look, let's show it here. If you take a look at this invoice, actually, it's not written that my item that I ordered here is a mouse. So I know because I have it here. But actually, so it's written just Logitech Marathon. It's written wireless, but actually, normally wireless, we could have also a keyboard that is, you know, wireless, but we have mouse that is wireless, and we have the warranty. So this is not, I think this is not helping us to know what type of item this is. And what I'm doing, I will show you afterwards. I'm calling the OpenAI API in order to classify this item in 4 categories. So I have a mouse, I have keyboard, I have screen and computer. So I'm giving this description to the OpenAI, and I'm asking it to classify it in those different categories. So let's say that I approve these ones, and the CO2 compensation, I don't really need this, so I will just remove the report. So in this way, of course, we could have, you know, completely automate this process, so just store the data in the table and that's it. I think it's always important to have some human validation that is not taken a lot of time, especially if they don't have a lot of items every day. But this allows, you know, to do a double check if the items were detected correctly, maybe modify something if that's not okay, and remove, for example, CO2 compensation. This is not something that we need, so we can remove this row from the data. So in this way, we just have to upload the file in a SharePoint folder, validate the data, and that's it. And now let's have a look at the backend part of this process, which is primarily managed by a Pod Automate flow. So if we switch to this Pod Automate flow, so we have a couple of steps. So the first one is actually the trigger. So when a file is created in a folder, so I have this folder, so I define that when we have a new file added in this folder, this will trigger all the next steps. The most, I think, important part in this flow is the extract information from invoices. So this action will ensure that the data is extracted from that PDF file and shown to the user, stored in the database and shown to the user. This is something that I did not set up in a specific way. I just used, let me just show you. So this is an action. And we have the AI builder action, extract information from invoices. And actually, you know, I don't have to set up something specific. I'm just using this action as is. Of course, you can customize the different models. So if I just go to AI models here, this is something that, you know, you can customize, build your own models. I use the one that was already there and it was working very well. But in case you want to build some specific and we have some specific use cases, you can just come here and choose between the different models that we have. So mine was extract information from invoices, but we also have other models. On my side, I used something that, you know, is ready to use, but you can, for example, come here and create your custom model. So this is something that is also possible. You can give this tool examples of invoices that you have, and in this way, you can train your model and deploy a model to be used in the different situations. So if we get back to this flow, so I'm using an action to extract information from invoices, and then we will loop through those information because, you know, in an invoice you may have several rows. So this is why we will loop through each of a row. And another important thing is that I will, as I explained you, ask the OpenAI to classify the item that I have. So I'm creating a message. I'm using intermediate variables, and I'm creating the message. So categorize this item. So I will pass this item description to the message in the following categories. So screen, PC, keyboard, and mouse. I'm just saying give only category with no context added because, you know, sometimes even when you use ChatGPT, sometimes it can write write correct phrases. So this is, or I think I did a test and it was saying this item is of category screen and so on. So I just asking it to give me just the response so that I can use it in the drop-down list that I showed you previously. And this message I'm sending to the OpenAI. So I'm using a HTTP action, automate action for that. And if we have a look at the HTTP part that is used to send the question to the OpenAI, so I have an OpenAI account that I'm using, so in order to be able to use the API, and I'm just passing the parameters and the message. And afterwards, we have some technical steps. So we parse the JSON the result that we'll receive from that HTTP call. Actually, when you are using, ChatGPT, using the chat platform, you have just question and answer, and you don't have technical data, technical information. But when we are using this API and making an HTTP call, actually we are getting the response in a very specific way. Let me just show you what it looks like so that you have a better understanding of why do we need to add those additional steps. So you can see here that the raw output of my call to the OpenAI API is all this. So actually what we need is just this word inside this response. So this is something that, we need to, so we have the body and we need to clean up and this is why we are using the parse JSON in order to be able to get the different parts of this JSON response. And we will only get the mouse part from that response. So this is why we have this parse JSON and apply to each, because we have several responses in that HTTP response. And then, so I'm having a variable called item category, and I'm, setting it to be this content inside this response. So this is why you have this part. Next, we have the add new row action that will add a new row to our Dataverse table, so-called office materials. We have our item category, and we have the data coming from the extract information from invoices. So this is the price, the quantity, the name of the item, the model, and the date of purchase. So these information are coming from the action extract information from invoices. We have also the item category, and I'm also setting up the link to invoice in order to have a track of that invoice in our SharePoint folder. And once this is done, I will send a message in Teams to the person that created the file. So in my case, I'm sending the message to myself. And this is the message that I showed you just before, with the new articles were added and with a link to this, app with this invoice. And what is important is that I'm sending to this app, actually, the file identifier, so it's file link, or in my case, it's a file identifier, in order for it to open on the right document. Because if we have several documents, it needs to know what document to show. So what I'm doing is I'm using the pod automate flow. I'm creating a link to the app, and to this app, I am passing the parameter I'm passing the ID for my file. And when the user opens the app will get the content of that SharePoint, of that invoice inside this PDF viewer. So this component is called PDF viewer, and this will show the content of our document. So what happens here, the most important is happening when the app is loading. So we are retrieving the list of materials from the Dataverse table, but also we are retrieving the parameter that is sent. If I just get back to this one. So I have here file equals the file link or file ID, and I'm retrieving this file ID inside my Power Apps. And then if I have this file ID, I will call another Power Automate flow that will retrieve the content of the file based on the file ID. So in this way, we can, let me just show it to you. So we are using a flow inside the Power Apps app. It's just to retrieve the content of the document that we are working on. So I have an action called get file content based on the file identifier that I'm passing using the URL within the Teams message. And then we are getting the file metadata. So this is for the file name. And afterwards, I'm just using a compose action to get, to have the file content in the right format. So, and I'm retrieving this information inside my Power Apps app. And this is also, so this is something a bit more simple. So this is only the gallery containing the data from the list, so from the Dataverse table that I filter based on the link based on the file that we have in our app. So this part is easier, if I can say, than the retrieval of a document and to be able to show it inside our app. And by getting back to our item management app, we can see that we have a new item that was added. And we can, for example, let's say that it's assigned. I want to assign it, for example, to this task and to assign it, let's say, to myself once again. And by default, well, I don't know why this is showing like that, but let's say that I assigned it to today. It may be yesterday as well. So yeah, filling in this. And I have assigned the item to myself. So, and keep in mind that I have a mouse and we will use this information a few steps later. So this is the part that I wanted to show you on the Power Automate side. And also, if we take a look at the Copilot feature in Power Automate, so if we go to the homepage of the Power Automate, you can see that it looks like, the one in Power Apps, and it allows you to describe the flow that you want to build. And you can also use this way of doing things. So on my side, I'm still preferring, building from scratch because I'm used to use the Power Automate. But it's cool to see that by using this Copilot, we can already maybe find some solution or have a good basis or even have the entire flow built for us. I tested for my use case and I noticed that by changing one single word, the flow can completely change. So let me just find the phrase that I was using to test this. So first I tried to do this one. So when a new file is added to SharePoint, extract data, store in a Dataverse table, and send a Teams message. I added in the meantime, the HTTP call to the OpenAI API. Let's start with this one. So this should build 80% of my final flow. So let's submit. And we will see that we have some Excel part. And also I tested this during the hackathon and I had a different proposal than what I'm seeing today. So, but as you can see, we have some list rows, we have some Excel. So we have when a file is created, we have the post message. But in between, there are some steps that are not really clear for us. And what I tried to change, and also, we don't have that extract data from the file, so we don't have that step. And what I tried to change, I put here extract invoice data because it's more explicit for Copilot to say extract invoice data. As you can see here, we have, when a file is created, we have that step to extract information from invoices. We have some intermediate steps. We have add a new row and the post message in a chat or a channel. So as you can see, by changing, adding or removing a word, this can, really change the proposal that the Copilot is doing to us. So if you are testing on your side and you are not getting what you really need, maybe you need to, to rewrite it or to explain it in a different way. And if that's okay, so we just click on next. it will ask us to authenticate. So we just, my side, that's already done, and we will create the flow. So in this way, we can easily at least build the basis of our flow. For example, if you see that by making it too complex, it doesn't work as expected, you can reduce the amount of steps and actions that you ask Copilot to put in place. And afterwards, when you have a good basis, just come here and enrich. This is what I did. I added, the HTTP call to the OpenAI. So you take the basis and you enrich it with other actions. So this can work as well in this way. And now let's move to the Power Virtual Agents part. So we will still get back to this Power Automate part in a few moments, because I'm using a Power Automate flow within my Power Virtual Agent chatbot. So we will get back to this part in a few minutes. But first, let me explain you why do we need a Power Virtual Agents in our case. So I was saying in the beginning that our company, so the company I'm talking about today, has a small IT team, and they are overcharged by the various, technical questions from the employees. And what I wanted to put in place is a chatbot that would allow the users employees to communicate with someone, try to solve their problem, and if the problem cannot be solved, to automate the process of replacing an item. So let me do a demo. So I have my Teams app, so everything's happening in Teams. So you can integrate a Power Virtual Agents chatbot in Teams for a better integration. So the person, let's imagine that I'm having an issue with my mouse that I just ordered, received, and I'm already having an issue. So let's imagine that it's not working. I don't know why. Maybe it's my computer, maybe it's my mouse, maybe it's because of me. But yeah, let's suppose that I have an issue. So the thing that I have to do is go in Teams, find the chatbots, the Captain's bot, and start explaining my issue. So let's be polite and say hello. So starting the chat. So I'm saying hello, and it will welcome me and ask how can it help me today. So let's say that I have an issue with my mouse. So what exact problem I'm experiencing? Let's say that I'm not seeing pointer on my screen. Let's say that, when I'm moving the mouse, I'm not seeing the pointer. It may arrive. So let's try this one. And after a couple of attempts, it will summarize the situation, try to propose a solution, and even propose a replacement. So as you can see here, it is very polite. Thank you for your patience throughout our conversation. So here is a summary of our interactions. So we have the different interactions, and considering your mouse is wireless, so in the last step I said wireless. So considering your mouse is wireless and seems well connected, as a next step, I suggest checking the battery level or replacing the mouse batteries. So if this doesn't resolve your issue, you can certainly consider proposing a replacement of your mouse. So we have a couple of, so I will explain you just afterwards how we manage this way. But yeah, in the end, let's say that I'm not very attached to this mouse, so I opt for a replacement. And as, I don't know if you remember, at a certain point in this video, I assigned to myself this mouse because, we received the invoice. So there is another thing that is happening there. I will explain just afterwards. So I assigned to myself the mouse. And as this data is stored in a database table, this chatbot, using a flow, can go and find the information that is stored in the database table. So it sees that I have a Logitech Marathon mouse that is assigned to me. I don't know if you remember, but I also have a monitor assigned to myself. So actually this, maybe I can show you materials management. And here I also have a display that is assigned to myself, but it is quite intelligent. And it found that actually this is the item that I'm having an issue with. And let's get back to this chat. So it knows that my place is T8 because, you know, I was assigned this place on the office floor location. And it says, oh, we will make the necessary to replace the item. The IT team will get in contact with you. Regards, so still very polite. What you also noticed is that I'm receiving another message. And actually, when I'm communicating with this chatbot, there are a lot of things happening in the background. And actually, I am using the OpenAI in order, you know, to give answers and to communicate with the user. And when I'm starting this conversation, automatically a ticket is created in order, you know, to store all that data, the historical, and we also store other things that I will explain afterwards. And when I'm finishing this conversation and I'm saying, okay, I want a replacement, all the data that was, you know, gathered during our conversation will be stored in a ticket, but also will be sent to a specific person. For example, it's still myself. I'm doing everything in this company, from working to the IT, you know, help desk. But the person will receive, a specific person, will receive a summary of this incident, if we can call it like that. So it says, okay, the person is having an issue, an incident was created, so we can put a link to the incident directly. We have a summary. So this is a summary of the conversation. So user is experiencing issue with their mouse. It doesn't just show all the interactions. It makes a summary so that it's easier for me and for person to understand. It says, so the items, what are the items? So I have this item, the location, and we also have more on this item link. So in this way, we can click and directly open the app on a specific item. When I click on this specific link, it will open the Power Apps app that I showed you before on the selected, so on the item that causes an issue. So in this way, the person that needs to make a replacement, maybe they can, you know, check the different parts. Maybe the item was purchased a few years ago and it's already out of date, and they can, as I showed you, maybe order a new item. And now let's deep dive into the technical part of this process. So I'm using Power Virtual Agents chatbot in order to make this happen. So this actually is a Power Virtual Agents chatbot that was added to Teams, so it's easier for people, you know, to use it. But yeah, we have a bot that is here, and almost the only thing that this bot is doing is communicating with Power Automate Flow. So we have here the Power Virtual Agents interface. We have here a testing window. So in this way, you know, we can test what we are doing. So for example, I can trigger the conversation. And actually, yeah, I showed you the way to communicate in Teams, but you know, when you are developing the bot, you can also use it within this window. And for example, we can test it here as well. So I have an issue with my mouse. So it's the same, and it will use everything that I built here in order to continue and in order to make the conversation. So as I said, we are using a Power Automate Flow, to which we are passing a lot of parameters. Actually, I could have separated, you know, the different flows in different categories, so make one flow per need. I used one flow to rule everything in my process. So this is why we have a couple of parameters here. So actually, what is happening here? So when I start communicating with this Power Virtual Agents chatbot, I will do several things. First thing is I will count the number of questions and answers that we have. Because as you noticed here, after 4 questions, it sends me the summary. And this is something that it's a parameter. So for example, if I want it to only ask 2 questions, I can do it as well. So we have a counter that will increment every time we communicate and ask question and receive an answer. And we are calling the Power Automate Flow that I will show you afterwards. And we are passing a couple of parameters. The first one is the message, so it's what I write to my in this chat. One of the most important things is the history of our conversation, because otherwise the chat may ask me, the same question twice. What I'm doing is I'm storing. I have here another step that will append actually, so will keep the entire conversation in a variable so that I can use it afterwards to not, repeat the same questions again and again to the user. Next, we have type. So I'm using kind of labels to know if it's the investigation. So this means that it's the beginning of the conversation, and the tool will try to understand, to investigate by asking questions. Then we have normally the solution. So it will summarize and will try to give a solution. And afterwards, we have something called replacement, where, we propose a user a replacement for the item. And afterwards, we are just storing the different variables. So with the counter, the question, the answer, and the history, as I said before. And then after 3 counters, so after 4 questions, we will switch to this right part of the process. So we will call the same pod automate flow, but by specifying solutions. So this will be this part where the bot will summarize the situation, will try to give a solution, and afterwards propose a replacement. So we will call the same pod automate flow. I will show you just afterwards. It will ask if we want or not a replacement, and afterwards we will call another time the same pod automate flow by specifying this is a replacement. And if we want to replace, we'll have a specific message. And if we don't want, we will just say the IT team will get back to you. Because if I don't want to replace, they will have to come and, check the mouse. So this is the pod virtual agents part, but the most complex things happen in the pod automate flow. And let me just open it from here. It will be easier. So as I said, I was trying to do everything in one single flow, and this is why it's a bit complex. But actually I'm reproducing the same logic in the different parts, but let me just show it to you. So I'm using also a couple of variables in the meantime. But yeah, this is my pod automate flow that is linked to the pod virtual agents. This is why you have, the beginning and the end linked to pod virtual agents, because we get an information or several information from the pod virtual agents, and afterwards we return an answer. So this is why we have these 2 parts. We have the variables that I was showing to you here in this part. And in between, we have a couple of conditions that are checked. So these conditions are specified in the type variable. So as I said, I have investigation, solution, and replacement, and I also have a counter. So first thing, when we start the conversation with the bot and we explain our issue, we will have the counter equals to 0 because, it's the beginning. What we will do here is we will try to classify already this issue in different categories. So this is why I'm using another call to the OpenAI API. So I have a prompt that I'm using as message to the OpenAI. So I'm explaining kind of the rules of this game. So the goal is to solve IT issues. I give it the rules, so ask only one question at a time, because in the beginning when I was trying to put this in place, the chat was asking 5 questions at a time, and I was like, no, I need 1 question per part, per line. So this is why it's important to give clear rules, otherwise it will, make what it wants. So ask only 1 question, identify. So also I'm asking it to do 2 more things, because I didn't want to make 3 different calls to the OpenAI API. I'm using 1 call, but to retrieve 3 different information. So I'm using this call to retrieve the first question, So that will be proposed to the user. I'm asking it also to identify the main topic of the issue. So for example, when I wrote, I have an issue with my mouse, it should identify the main topic. And I'm also asking it to identify the item category. So if it's a mouse, screen, PC, or keyboard. So I'm asking 3 things, and I'm asking it to give the response in one line with the 3 answers separated by semicolon. It's because, I wanted to kind of ensure that afterwards I will be able to kind of split the answer that it gave me, 3 sub-answers. And also I'm passing the user problem and the past interaction, but yeah, as it's the beginning, we don't have the past interactions. And I'm just putting also some reminder to avoid repeating questions, to be sure that it doesn't make this mistake. And afterwards, so I'm making a call to the OpenAI API by passing this message. Afterwards, I'm using the parse JSON as I was showing you just before. And then I'm retrieving the information. And this is where I'm able to split the answer from the OpenAI API into 3 different things. So I'm getting the first part, the second, and the third to have the response, the topic, and the category. And then I'm adding a new row in the IT incidents table because I want to store the data into a ticket and afterwards to know if the ticket was solved or not. And I'm also retrieving the incident ID that I just created, so to be able to track everything in one single incident, because I won't create each time when I ask a question and receive an answer, I won't create a new ticket. So I will always use the same ticket. And I'm returning these results to the Power Virtual Agents, so the result and the incident number. So in this way, the conversation has started. Next, if type is investigation, this means that we try to understand what is the issue with the mouse. And this is the part that is here, so the different questions that are asked to our user. So we have type investigation. And it's actually doing almost the same. I'm creating a message that I will send to the OpenAI API. I'm defining new rules, so ask only one question, no repeated questions, because I also had the issue where it was repeating the same question. I don't know why. And we are getting the answer, and we are, returning back the result to our chatbot. Next, when we have type equals solution, this means that after 4 attempts, 4 questions, we say that, we need to stop. We won't ask indefinitely, questions to our user. And after 4 attempts, what will happen? We will once again make use of the OpenAI in order to here, so if you have a look at the prompt, so provide a solution based on the historical interactions with the client in a summarized and polite way. So I'm providing it the maximum of rules. So finish the statement by saying if the solution is not found, a replacement can be proposed, because my aim is to either propose a replacement or not. And I'm also saying that imagine this being a part of a larger conversation, so you don't need to repeat everything. So I was, I tried to find the most suited prompt to get what I wanted. So I did a couple of tries. And we have also the historical interactions that were before, and remain focused on the provided rules. This is very important to repeat, to remind it what it has to do, what is important to do. And the same, I'm just retrieving the answer. And if you remember, so we have this part that will be managed by solution, and afterwards we have these 2 options, and if the user wants or not a replacement, let's get back to this flow. So we have type is replacement. So what happens here? No matter if I want a replacement or not, this is an issue. This means that, I have an issue with my mouse. It has to be replaced or not, but we have to we already created an incident. We have to inform an IT person about this incident. So this is why we have a couple of steps. So we will identify the IT incident that was created. So we need to maybe to retrieve some information from that incident in order to create this message. So we need to retrieve some info. So what is happening here as well is that we will once again make a call to the OpenAI API in order to summarize the historical interaction in a clear and concise way so that an IT person can quickly understand the situation. So this is what we have here. So it summarizes the different interactions and afterwards we send this message to a person. What we will do also is try to identify the item that is causing the issue. So as I said, if you remember, I assigned a mouse to me a few minutes ago, and here the tool will try to look through the different office materials, so the office material table, and try to identify the item that I have. So as it knows, it has categorized the issue or the incident as category mouse, it will look through the different items that I have and try to identify a mouse. So this is why even if I have a screen that is also assigned to me, it won't, retrieve the screen because it's not of the same category. So this is how it happens. And afterwards, I'm posting the message in a chat. So to the IT person, so I'm giving a description, I'm providing the maximum info so that the person can manage this incident. And also I'm giving an answer to the person, and I'm also specifying, so I see that you have these items, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So this is how this chat works. So we have a huge part managed by the Power Automate flow and a huge part, almost everything, managed by the OpenAI, because we are trying to put in place a kind of a conversation. So of course this can be improved in many, many ways, but I find already the solution very, very well. And the last thing that I would like to show you is that Copilot thing that we also have in Power Virtual Agents. Let me just go and open another window, because we saw the Copilot in Power Apps, in Power Automate, and we also, of course, have it in Power Virtual Agents. We also have it in Power Pages. I tried it a bit, but I did not find a use case inside my use case where I could put that in place, but it's also something that exists in Power Pages that will help you build websites for your company, for example. So if I get to my chatbot, Captain's bot, and what we can do here is create a new topic. So add a new topic, and we can use Create with Copilot. I found a very basic topic that I wanted to implement is the certification part. So let's suppose that I have employees in my company that want to pass certifications. So let's create a topic for that. So name your topic Certification Management, and create a topic to let a user ask questions about certification. And what we will do is I will use the Microsoft official page for certifications. So let's take this one. So as you can see here, so we have this information on the page. So let's create a topic, so chat, that will allow us to ask questions and receive answers based on that web page. So let's try this one. So we have our trigger. So the Copilot already created the draft for our topic. So we have a trigger. So a trigger is what will trigger the conversation. So I have the different parts, so certification management, certificate. So we have different words and phrases that will trigger this topic. So we have the question and we have the message. So we will add here something called generative answers. So maybe you already have heard of this. And this will create an answer based on, for example, a website. So we have several options, but let's let's just explore the public website. So I'm using a public website, which is the one from Learn Microsoft. And actually, when I will try to ask a question about, in our case, certification, it should try to retrieve the answer from that website. So let me just provide an input here and let's test it. I just write certif. So let's imagine that I want to do it quickly. So what question do you have about certification? Okay, so let's imagine that I'm using Power BI. This is the only part that I did not test during this hackathon. So I'm using Power BI and I want to pass a certification. And you will see the magic happen. And as you can see here, we have a lot of, the response is just huge. So I tested this a couple of days ago. It was a bit smaller, but why not? Understand the exam requirements, review the study guide, gain practical experience, take advantage of learning resources, of course, practice with sample questions, consider instructor-led training, and schedule the exam. Really, it's very, very detailed, and it's really different from what I had the last time. It's really nice. And we have some references to, you know, to the page where it gathered the info. So we have all that information here, and I have another reference here. This one. So yeah, it's another page. So as you can see, you can directly use the first part that I showed you, you know, I was using some HTTP requests to ask the OpenAI, but in this case, you just provide a link to a website and it does the work on its own. So this is it for this Power Virtual Agents part with a mix of Power Automate and OpenAI. So we saw the complex flow. I also showed you the part with the generative answers where you just provide the link and it will try to create an answer based on the content of that website. So it's really cool to see what we can do with these technologies. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting and I really hope that you learned something new. On my side, I really enjoyed taking part in this hackathon. I learned a couple of new things. I could test the Copilot. Honestly, on my side, I was, seeing the Copilot demos during the Microsoft events, but did not really have time to test it on my own. And it's really nice to see what we can do and how it can help, in building apps, building flows, chats, and websites. Thank you once again for watching and see you next time. Bye!